since last year, I mean, what I'd just like to do now is this is the first time I think we've all sat up here so you can actually see who the research committee are. And we've got, I represent national, so I'm just the chair of it. So we are independent from national, and our decisions then are recommended to the management committee. So if you come for money, it comes to us for. We talk about it, we say, or and then we take that back to national. But I say we're independent from national, so the national committee can be outvoted by the branches. Nelson, Auckland, Christchurch. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Robyn here. You've probably seen emails from me around Haricado and honeyberry. Been with tree crops maybe a member since 2019. So a bit of a newbie. I don't have the pedigree that a lot of you have. And
been with us forever.
So
Feels like it.
yeah, no, take it.
Feels like it.
Yeah. That's me. Having said all.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Lawrence, and very much new kid on the block to the research committee. I've been in tree crops probably for the last 4 or 5 years, and I got a call from Bob back in July asking if I'd sort of like to join the research committee. And a little bit of background about myself: I work at the Botanic Gardens as well, Auckland Botanic Gardens. And I thought, well, this is tree crops is something I'm really interested in. So, really good learning opportunity for me, and just to see what research is happening at a national level.
Nice. Caleb.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Caleb from Canterbury. I wear another hat as the chair of the Canterbury branch. Bit of a juggle, but it's lots of fun. Yeah, I'm relatively new too, actually. Maybe 2020 or thereabouts I joined, but always been passionate about trees, brick trees, and productive trees. So I'm feeling right at home here. So thanks for having me. Yeah.
And I'm Bob, and I've been here forever.
Yeah.
I think we'll go through the branches, what we normally do. So Caleb will just call the branch name out, and you can tell us what you've been doing for the year. So we'll give each branch a time.
Start at the top. Northland, Kit.
Hello, Kit Jackson, chairman of for this year of the Northland branch. And a chap who usually comes along, Jeff Mansell, unfortunately isn't able to come along today, so I'm really just coming to stand in, although I don't actually know very much about what's happening. The one thing that we have, that I know we have done, is to try to produce details of the plants from the local area, from the branch, that are growing well. So we've got a list of different types of fruit trees and individual varieties of fruit trees that current members are actually finding quite successful. So we're just trying to gather that information in to start with. But I'm afraid Jeff's not here, so I can't say very much else about what else is going on. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Could someone just shut the door?
Yeah, sure.
I can speak a little bit on behalf of Jeff. As we've been working on a project for a while with bananas. Some of you know he's a banana grower as well as figs and feijoas, and he also owns the Kotare Subtropicals plant nursery. He's wanting to really get into the banana growing, but his favourite cultivar of bananas, taste-wise, gets really tall. And a lot of discussion's been happening about greenhouse growing for bananas because, the consumer might want a top quality product and all these sorts of ideas. So the problem is that they're getting way too tall. We looked into dwarfing bananas, that particular cultivar, and some of you might be aware of the class of plant hormones called gibberellins, and they're involved with cell division and germination of seeds, overcoming dormancy, and primarily for us, they're involved with elongation of plant anatomy and particularly stems and internodes. The gap in between the nodes sort of stretches when there's high levels of gibberellins. So we were looking at a chemical that actually inhibits the production of gibberellins in the plant, and you can dwarf a banana plant by up to about 30%, which if you've got a 6-metre banana plant, it brings it into a range that could be possible. However, we're discussing this a lot, and the banana industry is in its very early days, and we really felt the weight of sort of setting the direction for the industry in terms of spraying chemicals from the get-go, and we thought this isn't really the direction we want to be heading. We've got consumer demands on one side and health and all these other things, and so we thought, okay, let's take a few steps back, and we're going to look at the optimising outdoor banana growing, and I think that's a much better approach.
Which compound were you thinking of spraying?
Sorry, yes, paclobutrazole. It's used. Oh, sorry, I have written a whole article which Brit has. You can read about it in the extra tree cropper. Yeah. There's a whole group of them that looked to be the best one. Some of them are sort of so potent that they don't grow and they struggle, and some of them don't really do anything. That looked like the really sweet spot.
Because folks have been using uniconazole, which is
yes.
from the ketoconazole antifungal family.
Yes,
And one sort of frets when you hear that. So they've been using that. And there was another one, I forget the name, we went to a field day a month ago in avocados. And again, people are trying to do what you're doing. But like you, one sort of frets, one of the, people talk about organic and being green and all the rest. And you fret about spraying a hormone inhibiting thing on plants. So I sort of fret from the sideline as to whether this is really a direction you want to be seen to be going. We're concerned about genetically modifying things, or we're concerned about this. So it's.
Thanks for the input. We came to the same conclusions. Yeah.
The avocados are very easy to dwarf. You just plant them on clay.
And then they fall over. Friends of ours up at Robyn, he did that. He planted them on clay. And
if you're in Nelson next year, we'll show you our 30-year-old one. Anyway.
Yes. Cool. Yeah. Do we have a delegate from Auckland?
That's pretty so the Auckland branch hasn't been very active in much research for the last couple of years, I believe. But one thing we did do at our AGM last December is we actually discussed what we'd like to do for future research. And really interesting, Caleb mentions about the interest in bananas, because that is a field of research Auckland wants to look into more. One of the guys in our branch, do you remember his name? Nathan, that's right. Nathan, he knows quite a bit about bananas, but one of his comments is that a lot of bananas that are grown at home and on lifestyle blocks, they're all quite, in his view, they're quite mixed up. No one knows, like, is it actually a Mizzy Luki? Is it a Goldfinger? Everything's got a bit muddled up. And we did discuss the idea of going through DNA testing. It was mentioned, to do DNA testing is quite a long-winded and expensive process. And we also recognised at our meeting that there are other organisations out there with interest in bananas. So one of the items that was minuted was that we actually, look at who we can collaborate with on such a project. Don't take it on as a branch on our own steam. The other key item we discussed, which I particularly think is really, really important in Auckland, and I have an interest in it working in Auckland Town Gardens, is looking into basically, smaller trees for suburban dwellers, and actually trialling those out, really, figuring out what is going to work for a small suburban dweller.
And all the tree croppers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's sort of that, that whole thing. I think a lot of us in tree crops, we really want to go down that road of self-sufficiency. But I mean, I know from personal experience, I mean, I've got trees in my orchard at Botanic Gardens, massive plum trees that are, shooting to the sky, and, the challenge of having to prune them and
Even pick the fruit.
pick the fruit, all those really simple but important things that I think, as a tree crops is really more about the home, the home grower, home orchardist lifestyle block owner. So, I think I see a lot of promise in investigating that.
Can I just say something? You look at some of our tree croppers in Auckland. Well, I've got what would be considered a big garden. It's just under 1,000 square metres. So it's a big suburban garden. I mean, one of our active members, she's the back unit of a 3-unit townhouse sort of thing. And most of things in pots. And that's not particularly unusual for some Auckland people. And it's getting more and more that way. Some people be lucky if they can put a small lemon tree in their backyard and grow some lettuce. And, so,
Yeah,
I think that people can get at it.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely even looking at, what'll grow well in pots. I mean, admittedly, in pots, you're obviously having to water more, you're having to provide nutrition, but
I mean, this seems to be where tree croppers can help people with advice. Bumped into a friend in Auckland, and he'd planted avocado trees, and I was explaining to him that folks down in our way are looking at spallying them, bringing them out very rigorously. Teo in our branch in Katikati, he's very good at plum trees. He just very much brings them out and keeps them low.
Yeah.
They are ruthlessly cut so that his wife can reach up and pick them. So, I mean, there is quite a role in tree crops for helping people show how to. Your avocado just treat it that way. Just take it horizontally.
I realise avocados were espaliate.
Oh, beautiful! I will. I'm actually meant to keep it
Love
secret,
to hear
but
more about that.
it's a secret. But I'm very impressed. I mean, Teo does this with fig trees. He takes the branches horizontally, and then they shoot up like this, and that gives that year's figs. And then he just cuts them all clean. I mean, there's a lot of secrets in tree crops that could help urban gardens.
Yes.
I think that sort of, that real focus on formative pruning, which is where you get that framework going in the early formative years.
Absolutely.
And, just for anyone, it's just making their life easier in the long term.
So it's quite a role for tree crops, just sort of, or what do you like to call it, making this stuff available. As perhaps we need to go to what Ted is doing and offer little videos and things too. So.
Would you be happy to write an article on spelling avocados? This would fit in.
Well, as I say, I will think of doing it. It's the guy who's doing it sort of slightly, I think he wants to, but I'll undertake to do it because I wanted to put it out for our branch. I talked about this field day, and I talked about people spraying, these conizoles and inhibiting plants, and I wanted to get people think in my newsletters. I want to get our branch people informed and thinking about what's going on.
Because figs are good for espaliate. Yeah.
Sorry.
Figs are easy. Yeah.
I visited someone in Dunedin, and the whole side of their brick house is covered with an espaliate pear tree.
Yeah, lovely. It's lovely.
And I was in somewhere, was it in,
Oh.
and I was in Taranaki at a herb thing, a fig tree right on the side of the garage, beautifully done.
Got one of my work colleagues, former work colleague, Tony Carson, he actually has, I believe it's like an espaliate, it's a pawpaw, and he's got it growing out along the side of the north facing fence. So,
about 50 kilograms of harm from one person.
I love this espaliate
Enough
love
to just
fence.
throw it around the fence. That was last year when we had the water. Not this year.
Okay, should we keep? Question.
So to add to that, I find that there's quite a bit of information done on this kind of thing overseas already, but in other languages. I'm no way polyglot, but I find what I don't find in the English language, I can find in Dutch or French often, and that's hidden to them basically to anyone who can't find that quickly or does find it, can't read it. Robyn.
Use Google Translate. Just hit the
Yes,
Go up to the top right
Yes.
hand corner and it'll say, do you want this in English?
yeah, but you have to be able to find the research
Oh,
as well. 'cause
Yes, yeah,
it's not the easiest thing, and we're all strapped for time. I can't gauge this, but basically shut up, Marion. I find a lot overseas that I can't find in the English language, which is really helpful, especially on the spelling. Side of things.
So what you're saying is you need to know the Dutch for apple tree and the Dutch before you start going.
Very good. Good point.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Where are we up to? Franklin.
Franklin, that's me. So we've been doing the honeyberry HESPAC trial the last 3 years. We lost a few plants last year, but not the. Sorry, I haven't got my notes in front of me. The one that we're all excited about, the big number that Robyn, the big one that seems to be coming through very well.
a couple of them. But
Yeah, and I did get one bush that was coming on really well, and they got stolen because they were in our food forest in a public place. So
Oh,
up
not
to
by birds.
not by
people.
birds, they were all well
Oh,
needed. Someone
shame.
had just harvested the lot, and of course I don't live there, so I go in and record everything. But
Oh, so we don't even know what they taste like.
I did.
Somebody's tasted
No, I
it.
did,
Oh,
but of course it was in the third year, so
Okay.
that we'd had
Yes.
this two years previous.
Yeah.
But then it was interesting because the better performing ones were definitely one end, and we had avocados growing in raised beds really tight together, shading those ones, and yet they did really well. So there's a lot of
Isn't that interesting?
research that you don't, you'd love to do it just at open field with no influencing from anything else, really, to see. But I'd say 4 bushes died over the last winter. They lived for the first 2 years, but they weren't our top performers anyway. So that's been good. Hericados, we've got 5 to distribute. They were quite soft, so we've hardened them off. They're still at my house, and I will distribute them in the Franklin area, and we'll give Lawrence the names, or Robyn the names. I've got them. I've got it in. I know who it's going to. Don't worry. But I thought I'll wait till after conference and get it done. Pecan nuts, the original pecans that were growing at Drury opposite the way station that Auckland Tree Crops planted. We had a contract with council for, I think it was 21 years, and we looked back and was 2020 it expired.
Oh.
So they're still there, but there's talk with, I don't know if anyone's driven through Auckland and seen what's happening at Drury. There's going to be a huge, like, Sylvia Park type thing, and there's talk about a new fire station being on that reserve just there. So we're not quite sure but we've made, when they had an open day and that, we made them aware that is a pecan trial. But unfortunately, the gist of the information, we've got some information, but not all the information. But it's ongoing, and talking to Terry Hatch from Joy Nurseries, he went to Brisbane years ago, bought back a sack of pecan nuts back in the day when you could just bring them in, and planted them, grew them, planted them, had a guy that he worked with the acclimatisation, and so Franklin has got heaps of pecan nuts dotted around, apparently, so more so even than the ones at the Elbow Reserve. And they're the best ones if you're going to pick up pecans, because it is a reserve and the council mow under them, so you can see them when they drop, and everyone knows about them. So but that's us over there. But we enjoy the research. I enjoy the research part of things. So yeah.
Do you anticipate you're going to have time to complete that sort of assessment of the trees? Is it sort of getting pretty close?
Well, the ones at the reserve. Yeah. Well, that wouldn't have been from Joy Nurseries. No. That would have been from was Auckland branch bringing in source, and some are better than the others. But I tell you, the ones that reserve right by the Waikato River, way better nuts, beautiful nuts, and they're all different. There's short, fat, long, skinny, all sorts of there's variety there too. So whoever planted them,
I think that I remember being told by someone who
yeah,
I think
it's
gone,
really
has
hard
actually
to
did
get.
have the paper. They did the National did have the paperwork.
Was that Owen Long?
It would have been Owen, but someone else told me. Not Hazel Nichols, but someone. Who
We
was
did
it?
get a, we got a list, but the trouble is a lot of the labels have gone.
Okay.
And then and then you hear on national radio just the other day about GPSing for fruit trees, and you know, about yield and things from individual fruit, new app. And I'm thinking that would be great for this, because then you could really, it doesn't matter about losing a label because you know exactly which one it is. So yeah. But anyway.
Can I just make a comment? I think we might have, when I was volunteering at Botanic Gardens and the edibles, natives, Horapito, the pseudo-winter colourant, doesn't do well in Auckland. There's one tree that's absolutely brilliant, and that was right under, it was under the Totoki something, a Poro. And there were about 4 trees that were all planted at the same time. One that was completely in the shade was brilliant, looked others. The other 3 were scungy, green, half dead things. And when you paint somewhere in the shade or something, we may actually need to, it is some trees do actually better in the shade or under other trees, so that's something we should consider.
Yeah, but of course they also were 3 different varieties because it's a trial.
Yeah.
So it might have been just that that was what they were going to do, even if they'd been at the other end of the road,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So yeah.
Can I ask about losing honeyberries in winter? I mean, talking to a friend this morning, they reminded me that the honeyberries are meant to come from a cold Siberian
Yeah.
winter. Do you think was it very wet? Or
I
what?
think you
Well,
better
we-
address that to Robyn.
Okay.
This research isn't, this is throughout the country, so I think that's not
Yeah.
fair.
No, I was just
question to
curious.
it.
So I was
No, I think
anecdotal
we'll leave that
experience.
just.
We had a wet season. We had a storm. Didn't we?
And if anyone's interested, David is not asleep. He's got sciatica and he's just got to lie down every night. So he's not, our chairman is not bored out of his skin. He's listening to every word.
Uncrossed your legs.
He's
That's
got
what
a
I
long,
got told when I
he's
did
got a long
surgery.
day and he hasn't got his hot water bottle like he did yesterday. So just excuse him.
Just one thing, just tying into your comment, Diane, about, you mentioned about GPSing trees. I've actually got a friend who has he's designed, it's a very simple app for GPS locating plants and trees. So if anyone's interested in it, I can.
I do it on my auction already.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Walk around with it with the
Yeah,
GPS, check
yeah.
the reading, and I convert it into GPS files.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all come smaller, isn't it? It used to be like I don't know, a 10-metre GPS pin, whereas now it's come way down. So it wasn't so relevant before when it was big, because it could have been that tree, that tree. Whereas, yeah. Yeah. It's cool. Yep.
Cool, thank you.
No point doing it if you don't know what the trees are. Oh well, unless it's a particularly good tree and you want to know. Yeah.
Bay of Plenty.
So that's me, Denham Grown from Bay Plenty. We don't have a research officer. We haven't had one for a number of years. Our treasurer, John Broughton, is taking part in the honeyberry trials, and he's down at Taniatua. And it would be a few months ago I was down. I think John was disappointed they weren't doing very well. But we have not participated in any other research at all. So that's
Sorry, can I ask you, what was the name of the fellow with the climate trial?
with the honeyberries.
Yes.
John, Jon, and John and Brewerton. I can give you his details later, but
Oh, no, John Bruton. I don't know, I know that name.
Yeah. I think he's been
feedback.
I mean, we were just talking about it earlier. What you think they would grow well in Taniatua. People say, well, actually, maybe they like the cold. So I was interested if you lost them at Franklin.
Yeah, there are 3 trials in the Bay of Plenty. So there's a rose. Is there a rose? Yeah, and yeah, and that's it. Yeah. And there was a third.
Because we were involved, as you know.
Yes.
Until last year.
Yeah.
But this year we resigned from everything. Sorry.
The caravan. Pull of the caravan. Okay. Cool.
Who's the Waikato
I'm Catherine, and Roger, who is the person who does our research, can't be here, and he sends his apologies because he has a Fijo orchard, and this, of course, is his busiest time. He kindly has prepared some information which I will let you know. We're now undertaking a trial of apricot varieties to determine the variety that's most suitable to Waikato climate and soils. And the following varieties have been selected. Apricot dwarf, Fitzroy, Garden Annie dwarf, Apricot, Newcastle, Royal Ross, Sandspit, Sundrop, Tibet, Waipapaka's Kauri, and Warkworth Lady. And it's been based on what we could obtain in the North Island after talking to nurseries. And what happened was, when Roger was discussing this with nurseries, they would say, oh yeah, we've got somebody who's had a really fantastic success with apricots, but of course they couldn't remove the variety name, so hence we're trialling that many. There are 5 people who have volunteered to do this trial, and they've all got all the varieties. And it was an attempt to select a good range of Waikato growing conditions. The success of this trial depends on the commitment of volunteer members, that they select a suitable site. The trees will be planted in staking in a good-sized hole. Trees will be permanently labelled as to their variety, and records kept so each tree's performance could be reliably established and recorded. The trees will be pruned and mulched annually, and at least annually, the tree's performance will be recorded and the data sent to the tree crops group. And long-term commitment was requested from these trialists. And after 1 year of the trial, things are progressing well, with only a couple of tree losses over the horrible summer of 2022-2023.
Just a question on the apricot trial. So, are your trialists sort of are they spread out over quite an extensive area through the? Yeah.
I don't have their locations.
Okay.
Roger is in the Morrinsville area, and yeah, I believe they're in different locations in the Waikato.
Yeah, cool.
Could you just repeat that first name of the apricot? You know, the variety that you were talking
Beg your pardon?
Could you just repeat the first apricot variety that you said?
Aprigold dwarf.
Nelson got some low children.
Yeah, some of the same name, like Fitzroy came from Edinburgh Garden and
Which one's Nelson?
near Castle. Waipapakauri, Fitzroy, Tanaki, and one other.
Yeah, we got 4 down, I think, from the North Island to trial.
How are they doing?
We got 4.
They produce well, but it's Nelson by and large isn't hot enough in the summer or cold enough in the winter to have a really good crop. So they crop every year, but every 3rd year it seems we get a really good crop. And this last year we've had our best, the drought we've had our best ever. Well, you know, because you
I know, and I got some. I bought
So did
some.
so it can be done.
But none of my own.
They're doing okay.
But I think we put it down to the flowering time.
But then the Sundrop,
If it-
which I would have had anyway, did quite well.
If we get rain over flowering time, we
There's
Season's
great
ridiculous.
interest. Yeah, maybe we should publish a little list, because we've got that list from Waikato, and I've got your list.
It's in the on the webinar and the member section
Okay.
in the forum. It should be there still.
Just a comment like on low chill apricots. I mean, I know my grandmother who lives at in sort of the Franklin area in Auckland, she had a relatively successful apricot there, and I've heard reports of there being apricots growing in Devonport, and another report of an apricot in Mangere that's grown quite well, and it totally bemuses me. I mean,
I know one in Kohimarama.
yeah,
It
How the-
produces really well.
how the heck
They're not
did it-
big fruit, Nothing like,
No, that's what
they're
that's what
little
we get.
fruit, but they taste like, and from a Central Otago girl born and
Yeah.
bred,
Yeah.
I know what a good
Yeah,
apricot
yeah.
tastes
Yeah.
like.
What was the other
And
one we
I've
got?
no
Joel?
success with the ones I'm trying in Auckland, no.
The only thing I keep
Percolate. Clues up late.
Clute Lake was one, and that was a massive one before Christmas.
That was good. And the other one was from an old orchard, Holloway's place. It hasn't got a name, it's just called Big Apricot. I just butted that onto actually a failed flat peach, we got fed up with, and that was a fabulous one, very firm.
Moving on. Is there anyone here from Central Districts? Hawke's Bay?
Chris Ryan's normally about.
Wairarapa? Cool.
Yes. Hi, I'm Marion. We used to participate in lots of Eric's trials, Eric Cairns trials, so figs and honeyberries are dispersed around our valley. And Richard's lovely spouse, or the both of you, did trials and work on condoms and capers, which was amazing. But that's kind of gone back to not much, because Richard and June moved. And we've also been thinking as a branch, where are we going? What do we have time and energy for? And a new thought that occurred to me recently was we have lots of nurseries in Wairarapa, but they're all native tree nurseries. And lots of the young people are very focused on planting native trees, and they're beautiful. And I often hear the comment, yeah, but native trees don't produce much, they're not good croppers, you know, what do they have that's useful? But seeing as our, especially young members and members in general, I have had so much focus on native plants. How much have we done on native plants and information on, you know, them like, what gives a crop and what kind of crop is it? I think there's articles through the tree croppers over the years, but maybe we could gather something together that would be interesting for members, to pull in new members, something like that, make it attractive to them, because we don't have much accent on natives. If you compare to the exotics, you know, that's our thing. It's just, that's all,
It's
just
a great
me.
idea. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in Australia, you can tell I'm Australian. There has been a very long time focus on native edibles. You know, and yeah, bush tucker, etc. Yeah, and you know, not just growing what is indigenous, but also hybridizing, improving varieties and all that sort of thing. I'm still relatively new to New Zealand, and so I haven't seen if the level of breeding has been deep or not. I get the feeling it's not, but there are lots that could adapt. It's a
We're very
small
happy
range.
with your Australian macadamias.
But, well, there's just one or two crops, but yeah, and you've taken over the Kiwi Rose, the Waratah. Anyway, but but you know, things like the fuchsia berry and so on.
What fruit were you thinking of?
Nothing specific. Anything that would be interesting as a crop to our members. And to be honest, I'm an old Kiwi, but I got lost out there, and you can tell by my wonky way of talking, my accent. I don't know enough about natives, but I'm intrigued. They're beautiful, and people keep asking. And when we do information stands, we go like, well, we do exotic crops, and they're much better croppers. And I'm going like, no, we need to combine that in some way. We need to be able to speak well to natives.
still
I
on
think-
that.
Great idea.
So, yeah, just picking up on your point, speaking to the value of natives, at the Auckland Botanic Gardens, we are planning to put in an ethno-botanic garden sometime in the future.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's yeah.
So how is that clear that it's going to happen? Do you know? when it's
Yeah, I don't know the details. We've been very fortunate in acquiring extra land which is absolutely amazing that, you know, in these times, the
North
council,
facing, slight slope, brilliant.
yeah, the council actually sort of recognising, you know, what we're doing. But that's as much as I know.
But you don't have the money, and I think anything the friends that have actually given the money to do the first survey, so.
Yeah,
Auckland
so
doesn't have
things do tend to,
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
I just keep
Yeah.
thinking positive
Yeah.
that will happen at some stage, and that would be great, because we could send our members, like, go,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
the Auckland Botanical Gardens.
But I think there is a very limited knowledge of New Zealand edibles. And for example, karaka has to be processed, otherwise
sure.
it's toxic. Fuchsia, well, yeah. The ringa apparently used to be eaten.
Yeah, there's a,
And the
Brown
cabbage
flower.
tree, yeah.
yeah, in the
Stock.
centres of the cabbage tree.
Yeah.
But not nice.
No.
They'll keep you alive. You know, they'll keep you alive.
They're actually,
Yeah.
I think, historic. The early Maoris
Excuse me.
actually.
Excuse me.
I'll wait for.
No, it's okay.
So just on just a further point of concern about the further domestication of
Introduce
native
yourself,
tree-
Andy, please.
Okay. Hi, my name's Andy from Auckland. Just growing foods and eating foods is a hobby of mine. Since I was born, I've been foraging for mainly just edible mushrooms. But so I got a book. So I've read most of the Palmerston North City Library on the native edible plants. There's not a lot. It's like one book. But so on the question of so one point of concern I'd like to raise about the further domestication, continuing the efforts of our agricultural forebears, the early Polynesians, who have had some tangible legacy in the karaka trees and in the ringa lilies. I believe there were some examples of the ones near the settlements having features of domestication. So a concern of domestication is that it may reduce the genetic diversity in wild populations or such and such. So it might be a point that tree crops might want to address to have perhaps commission a study on, say, if we were to have some domestication efforts of some crops in some areas, what effect on the gene flow, what effect that might have on wild populations. For karaka berries in the South Island, that's pretty clear because karaka is not native to the South Island, so you can do what you want. You can plant whatever. But if we were to try to encourage the propagation in urban areas of certain, say, variegated pahudakawa or yellow pahudakawa, what effect that might have on the wild, not necessarily. It might have an insignificant effect, it might have a big effect, but there is no data. So we could, if we did have some data to say, okay, if we there's the, as you're probably aware, there are concerns about, was it local sourcing of seeds and growing in local nurseries, growing plants local to that area. What was I going to say? Yeah, so maybe we could have a look at what affects domestication efforts in local areas, how much that might affect nearby local populations. Because for the most part, if you're growing a bunch of totara trees in an urban area of Auckland, say, how much effect is that going to have on the nearest grove of totara trees? Where is the grove of totara trees in Auckland anyway? So
Somebody give that man a form.
Yeah.
Fill in a form.
Chris will be talking to him later. You've just going to have an ask. You've just going to be writing an article.
Thanks, Andy.
For our customers, for our members, maybe just because also we don't do that much as an organisation, I'd like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just what do we have as an attractive? I mean, there's teas, kaukaua tea, this kind of thing. But yeah,
But
and
also,
maybe we'd like to take it further in the future.
how do you use it? Like, I've read about ringa, keep thinking, I must get some, but how am I going to cook it?
Yes, exactly.
It makes it tasty, and I want to share with other people.
There are Maori cookery books.
Yeah,
We've got a speaker tomorrow to
Oh,
specialise.
that's cool.
yeah.
We might know.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, Andy. I was talking to someone on the plane actually, sitting next to a lady that was a local Maori healer and spiritualist and naturopath sort of thing. And I was asking her, she obviously uses native plants in her remedies. And I said, what's your opinion on the development of some of the plants you're using it in terms of would you want more of a certain compound in your plants to have a better effect? And she said, no, it sort of takes away from the manner of the plant to go messing with it and stuff. And I think there's a massive range of considerations, cultural and it's about stewardship of the plants and what does that mean. But I think David and Britt and people have been miles ahead on that already. But there are other considerations.
Well, one conference we went for a walk with a native herbalist type thing, and the kawa, he said, you select the leaves that have been nibbled because they produce more of what you want to protect against the nibbler. So in that case, it's not a particular selection. It is the way
You're observing.
Yeah.
Natural. Yeah. That's quite cool.
Sorry, I'd also like to add to the point. There's those two big permaculture books that I borrowed from a neighbour. They were talking about, sorry, I don't have the titles on me at the moment, but saying that humans have played a very big part in the ecosystem in Native America for like thousands of years, and that they had an effect on the selection of the humans and animals, right? And sorry. Yes. So on the question of domestication, in near, I think it's was it city near Parkson? Fielding? No, Foxton. There used to be a big flax mill, and there's like these flax which were specifically selected there, and that's also built on the Polynesian selection. So the question of where, how do we balance
It's a diverse range of opinions on that. Yeah. Good point. Okay, should we get moving? Wellington, what have you
That's me. Hi everyone, I'm Victor. I'm also a stand-in for our research officer, Eric. Marian's already mentioned that Eric's work on honeyberries. So the branch continues to...
Can you speak up?
You want me to speak up more?
You're very soft.
Oh, really? Okay, I will project.
I'm finding this conversational level of volume difficult. I'm hoping that you're getting good audio there because I'll need it.
It probably doesn't help that we're hearing a lot of noise from next door as well. Anyway, okay, so I'm also a stand-in. Our research officer, Eric, wasn't able to be here. Marianne's already mentioned that he's still doing his work on honeyberries, so the branch is still supporting what Eric is doing on the honeyberries, his trials. I can't speak to any detail about what that really is. I'm relatively new to the branch, but I can say that at the last AGM, they brought out a number of samples of what they're doing with the honeyberries in terms of making them edible. So we had sweets, we had chocolates and things like that. So that was all very interesting. I think we might have even had some ice cream, but I didn't try any.
You missed out.
Well, I wanted the honeyberry itself, so I just tried the honeyberry. I wanted it in its raw form, so what was it like?
Nelson.
Oh, that's me. What we've been doing really the last 12 months, focusing on honeyberries, the Haricado and our ongoing persimmon trial. So we've been given persimmon seeds from an Auckland member. Thank you. Sylvie Goldstone, and we've distributed those right across the district. Most people have 4 to 6 plants. They were seedlings. The idea was to see if any of those would grow us a delicious persimmon to have, because there's a group of people who believe that those astringent ones aren't very good. Are we going to be able to get a sweet one out of that? So far we're at year 4 on those. We've got about 90% of them making fruits now, and some of them are female. We haven't had the tasting session yet. We'll wait till year 5 and we'll get a tasting session together and let you know the results of those. Haricado, there's probably going to be a bit more information that Bob's going to give you in a talk tomorrow. Most of you will have been contacted by me on the grafted trees. So they're now going out. Hopefully we'll have some by the end of the year for the first lot of Zutano rootstocks. We'll just see how they go. So it's a not quite a trial, not quite a retail. We're asking tree croppers to be patient with that and to look at these as a developing crop. So the first lot of being grafted onto Zutano rootstocks have happened now. So it's a waiting game. We'll know in August how well they've taken. Cutting grown Haricados have gone out to select trialists. They've gone to 4 branches across 5 branches across 3 crops, and they're looking beautiful when they went out. And we're preparing for the next lot of graftwood to be done in June for the Duke 7s. So fingers crossed that that's going to go okay. We're still sort of working on a few other administrative things in the background on Haricado. Honeyberries, we're hoping, so what have we got this year? We've gone to a pollination trial just to see how some of our selected honeyberry varieties are going to cross-pollinate with each other. That is by no means anywhere near a result yet. We had a very poor season. We had a big drought in Nelson this year. The plants themselves were quite root bound that we got, so they're needing another year in the ground before we even get a decent flowering or fruiting off those. But I didn't get, on the climate trials, I didn't get a lot of feedback this year, but you'll see in tomorrow's presentation that I actually visited somebody's climate trial down in Canterbury, and she's just done an amazing job. And it's highlighted some interesting things. So one of the learnings that I got for those people who are growing honeyberries, add a little bit more calcium to your honeyberries. That'll help toughen up the skins a little bit. If you mulch with a nitrogen adder like a pea straw or a red clover, or have some of those growing as a green crop, a nitrogenous something or other underneath your honeyberries, any mulching, it makes them go awesome. So you'll get much greener, better growth on the stems and the leaves. If you do that, you'll get the ensuing honeyberry crop. It'll be
Sorry, Robyn, just to clarify one of your points, you mentioned calcium. That's just, you can just standard lime application around?
Yeah,
around,
I think you probably need
something
to.
more.
Yeah, probably Cal could speak to that more. Yeah, but
Yeah, do you mean lime or gypsum? Which, do you mean calcium sulfate?
dolomite.
Well, dolomite's
Dolomite and
magnesium.
gypsum is the mix that I add on.
Magnesium is always significant for a lot of fruit.
Yeah, but
But it just makes it, makes the calcium more bioavailable as well if you add gypsum.
So do you know, is it calcium sulfate or which of the calciums?
It's dolomite is the one that we've been adding. That's the one that Bronwyn's been adding as well. So,
Can I just ask, what are we doing with it now? Because it's 3 years.
It'll come out tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry,
The trial.
what are we
plants?
doing
The
with the
trial.
plants?
Where we're
It's
going, we'll
5-year trial.
Oh, I thought it was a 3-year trial.
No, 5 years, at least 5 years.
Okay.
we're not far off, are
We're not too far off. Yeah, and we
Okay.
need to cover, that range of climate as well.
Yep.
we? But without one person, I mean, we've just got the most green-fingered person in Nelson, haven't we? And he's just the hours and the effort that John Thurkettle and Jackie have put in to our trials. You just, I mean, we would be, if we paid him a fifth of what we should, we'd be broke as an organisation, just through the amount of work he's put in. And we're not talking just about honeyberries, we're talking about the persimmons, we're talking about the Haricado.
Everything.
We just owe him so much. Anyway,
And
I've
it's
just got.
not just John either. I mean, Jackie, the amount of work that she's put into it just blows me away.
And not just those two, but Robyn actually administrationally has been doing so much, and I think she's really grateful for all your work, Robyn. And you commented about the getting feedback from the trials, and I think for all of us as delegates and members of branches, it'd be really good if we could encourage the people holding the trials to send that info back so that the trial is sort of more comprehensive and full. It's the least we could do probably
That
to help
would be
you out.
much appreciated.
When you were on the Nelson trials, it was getting information, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had a nice way last year.
Yeah. Everyone wants fruit plants.
Pretty much,
Marianne, did you have a question?
Yes, on the persimmons, I was staying with family in Auckland. They were telling me in the area they're living around Birkenhead. In not too long a time, 57% of the population will be Asian. What I've seen on YouTube is they sweeten a lot. That's not right either, is it? A lot of sweetening of persimmons goes on, but by drying.
Yes.
It looks to me that the Asian market is going to be booming.
Mm.
So are we aligning the variety to the upcoming population in New Zealand? The type.
Okay, so I guess that could be a little bit of a loaded question. Kind of, well, perhaps a little bit political. Maybe that's something to address to the management committee. From my perspective, you know, I'm in this for a little bit of fun. Hey? I just,
We all are.
you know, and I'm growing it because I think, I know I'm participating because I love it. So, you know, I can't answer
It's
that.
not criticism. It's
If
like
no. All I'm saying is, if I grow something that's
Just
awesome,
Margaret,
somebody else
just
thinks
we
it's
were
awesome,
talking
fine.
to-
But I'm not targeting anybody.
I remember here yesterday, and the persimmon orchards up this way are ripping out their persimmons because there's no profit, there's no money in it. So it's completely opposite to what you've just said. There's no market, so the persimmons are coming out. And we were just told that yesterday.
Whole new generations.
And you, persimmon trees, someone bought one at King's Plant Barn the other day for $130.
Yeah.
The home growers want them.
price of some of the things that's
Yeah, home grower wants them, and I've seen a beautiful one at Cook's Beach at Espalier across the wall with its beautiful golden, you know, orange bulbs. And yeah, we budded them at Food Forest in Pukekohe, and we got some going. Mine's going well. I haven't got a fruit on that one, but you know, it seems the home gardeners want it as opposed to because there was a lot of orchards around the Franklin area too.
because I
And
think
I've been
that a
pulling
lot of
them
the Asian, I know when I was in
Excuse me,
PI,
we'll have to move on because this is the next meeting coming up.
Yeah, cool. Next we've got the West Coast branch, which is John Collier couldn't be here. Is anyone else from the West Coast? Is Annie here?
Annie's here, but
Not yet.
Not yet. John, along with myself, is still working on the citrus project in terms of doing a bit of a census, gathering a list of what varieties are in the country and hoping to propagate some more heritage varieties that are less common now, that sort of thing. John's doing a lot of work with taro, as you might have heard, and camellia. There's a species of camellia used for oil, and he's investigating that. You know John, or if you know John, you know he's doing everything. That's John. Canterbury. That's me.
John drafts everything onto everything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
John will be one of the speakers next year at the conference because he's just, his enthusiasm is.
and you can turn up at your place and sit there and do grafting somewhere.
Yeah.
And he never stops talking, but it's simply you can't stop listening to him.
He's a classic plant hunter.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Actually, you look at the camellias at Botanic Garden,
Yes.
got some.
Yes, he's been there. Yeah. Can't live there.
If you come to Nelson next year, you'll enjoy listening.
Canterbury, you might have read in the tree cropper, we're doing a test on avocados. We've got 8 different cultivars there planted at one of our members' properties just to assess mainly the cold tolerance because it's still got the same soil and shelter issues that the rest of us have, the rest of you have. Yeah, that's ticking away. It's going to be its first winter. We're a little bit nervous, but it'll be fine. I know there's heaps of established trees around Canterbury, so it'll be interesting to see the results.
Are you going to sleep out in sleeping bags and help
Yeah.
keep them warm?
Yeah, no, I'm quite. The group of us doing it, we're quite keen to test it relatively thoroughly, in that we want to have some results that might replicate what the average gardener might do, or tree cropper, rather than if we throw everything at it, what can we get to happen? We want sort of going that route because we know that they can grow, and we want to see differences between the cultivars. that's that. Obviously, we're just about to start the cut and grown Hericado trial in Canterbury as well. Got a lot of people keen for those trees, which is exciting. There is a pistachio nut orchard in North Canterbury that was planted 15 or so years ago, which sort of been, a whole lot of information's been lost, and who knows what's happening, a bit like the other nut trials around the country. Unfortunately, the owners that have been trying so hard to connect with, and I've been going in and doing a bit of pruning and monitoring, they've just subdivided and sold that section, so I've got to start again. Hopefully that I've written them all out. But it's a really interesting trial, and it's a lot of similarities to apricots, I think, in that sort of late season stressing of the plants for good bud formation, and you know, it's a good spot, Robyn. It's quite dry in summer. You know, you got not much of a shoulder season. It goes from freezing cold to bone dry and hot. So it's quite a good spot for the trial. What else? There's talk of a trial with sugar maples. There's a professor down in Canterbury that has done a trial in Hanna Springs, if you know where that is. It's one of the more Canadian-like sites in New Zealand. And a few of the members have been really getting alongside him and wanting to maybe take some of his findings and take them in another direction. Not quite sure what's happening with that. And I've got a whole lot of my other projects, which probably don't have time for as well. Yes, no, let's move on to Coastal Otago, Don. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I'm Donald Ferguson, Chair of Coastal Otago for the last 3 years, I think. I've previously been briefly member in Nelson and there previously. Our legacy project really is the maintenance and development of a several hundred variety apple planting initiated by Anne's father, Jim Dunkley, and that's been on the present site for 20 years. We've just renegotiated another 20-year peppercorn rental lease on its trust land at Volco. It's 100 metres north facing on the hillside up Mount Cargill Road above Waitati. So it's not the ideal site, but it's absolutely secure. The initial planting was moved off the site somewhere else, Saddleville, and because that property was sold. So it's been there for 20 years now. It's been through a lot of work's gone on to it, but there's been a certain amount of, when we unfortunately lost Jim and his drive, there are still a few people, and included, who are in the branch, in the executive from that time, who were involved in that at the start. But we've improved the maintenance with mineral fed trees. We've pruned them, brought their level down. Our product, as I see it, is cyanwood. 200 varieties of cyanwood. Some of them from farm orchards. Any group of fruit trees you might see in the middle of a paddock is probably been planted deliberately, as opposed to a roadside or railside seedling. So some of what Jim collected came from other small orchards around the district, all the way into parts of central Otago, contact with people in the south of Otago, where there was an active project in the Catlins, the northern Catlins. So that's our project, is to renovate the orchard, and our problem is that so this is our only real, we have a Ascat planting, a honey berry planting, which is doing well. Our current part of the project is that right to the chase, we are going to genome test all of what we have. And I could name another 100 that I would like to see tested in collaboration with the biochemistry and food technology departments of the university. Where else do you find 200 varieties of one plant 15 minutes from the university lab? So they're bought into that. They've funded it to get us started. And following on, so now I'm on to the genome project. Following on from that, the second phase next year, sampling in the spring this year of young leaf, processing it at the university labs and sending it to probably France through food and crop research, is to employ a current BSc student to do a two-year master's project in unscrambling the data and presenting it to us in a way, extracting as much as he can. I mean, my concern mostly is ID. That's the very, very basic point of it. There's going to be a SNP talker here, actually, isn't there? I want to talk to that person. That's it. So we've also got a honeyberry trial at 20 k's inland from Oamaru at Elderslie Estate, where our former treasurer and secretary, they've got health issues, so I've dropped out recently, but they're still sending me messages. I think they said they got 40 kilos of fruit this year.
Wow.
18 months ago in the spring.
Wow.
Was that Pam?
It's in a
Yes.
fruit cage.
Yes, it was initially in the open. Spring before this last one, it was decimated by a hailstorm, totally defoliated. And it's recovered well, and they're getting a lot of fruit. It's in a hail-proof netting enclosure, wood chip. I'm not sure what they're fertilising with actually. It's doing really well. They had their first frost last week. A little earlier than I would have liked, but there you are. So it's doing well. Aside from that, I mean, we're not so much doing research, but fostering. I'm fostering particularly. That's my interest. Where was it? I have here a pear from the Sweested estate at Goodwood, out of Palmerston. We've got 2 or 3 of their apples at our orchard, but this it's the second oldest farm building in the country. And the house, there was a house built there, was demolished in the 20s, previous 20s. And there's 4 or 5 apple trees there, and 4 or 5 pear trees out in a paddock on a south-facing slope, 100 metres, 300 metres from the sea. Potentially, that's a 160 or 70-year-old tree. So it's, we're not doing.
What's the name of it, Don?
Well, I call it a Sweested pear. I don't know. And I need a peer geneticist to, or a genome test.
Just can I make a point? The research committee had met about a month ago, and we've granted, basically, we've matched their $2,000 funding, and we're also putting $1,000 per year. Are you ready, David? Yep. Yeah. Into helping the student. But we have got an awful lot of over-rich branches who are not spending any money. Looking at quite a few of you here, who probably won't be looking at me. Now that money...
Quite happy to look at you, Bob.
But it's time that money was starting to spend. As a research committee, we've only got a small budget. Our budget comes from donations. You in here, your rich branches have got plenty of money. I suggest some of you should look on putting $1,000 or $2,000 towards what Otago
I've
are
already
doing.
talked to a branch, Bob.
Huh?
I've already talked to a
I mean,
branch
but you're
on
not
this.
the only branch.
Yeah, but I think you're lecturing us, and
I just think we shouldn't be sitting on that much money. We've got a wonderful project down here. We can't help enough, but the rich branches can help. It's only my opinion, and this is a good place for me to air it. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Just to add to that, it's not a complete genome test. They're looking at the known markers for various traits that are desirable in apples, which will assist people wanting to breed new apples to pick which ones they can might be useful to start with across.
Have you asked for funding from the Apple Peer Marketing Board?
It's the process. It just focuses on several points on the chain. I mean, it would cost our whole budget.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
To the chain, but single nucleotide polymorphism, SMP, SNPs, and it's been around for 20 years or more, through refining all the time. About 3 or 4 years ago, it was over $200 to do a test. We're looking through the system at possibly as much as $50 per sample.
But are the Apple and Peer Marketing Board interested in helping you?
We haven't talked to them. We've only really talked to local funders. We haven't got much further into it than that. The national body has voted us enough funds to complete our sampling this year and processing and get an initial 200 away. I think there's at least another 150 that we could do. So it's been voted by the national. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for it. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong.
I'm just looking at other options for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
there
that's
are.
good.
No, it's a good point.
The thing is that this has all sprung on us since our open day last year. So we've only had this project a year. We're still working our way through it, and yet it's taking off at the same time.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
And the branch is coming alive again.
Yes.
Yes.
This is what we've got to do.
We have increased our actual membership by a third.
Right.
By 2/3.
I'd like that.
We're not quite at 100 yet, but we're up to 27.
can I say I've been terribly impressed with your branch. You send out newsletters and we get them. And in the newsletters I do for our branch, I say, look at what these people are doing. You're punching way above your weight. So I'd like to publicly acknowledge what I think is a fantastic effort you're making down there in coastal Otago. It's a tremendous example to us.
It's just enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily knowledge. I've never managed or chaired or anything before, but I walked into this committee with a few stalwarts, Anne and Paul Snyder, and people who've been in there for a long time, and there were a couple there, the Rodwells, and were already at that stage our treasurer and secretary, and
enthusiasts.
And enthusiasts. And I thought I can work with that. I don't know anything about management, but I can talk the talk. And we were up from 27. We're not at 100 yet. I'm not sure what our number is.
I think there's a whole thing throughout New Zealand, people looking at grown food. And, like 5 years ago, it wasn't there.
But we are lucky that we've got the university right at our doorstep, and with a couple of them, we caught their attention and they thought that this would be great for them.
Yeah, no, enthusiasm
So
is
we
the
didn't open
key
that.
attribute for any of our members. But sorry, we don't have a lot of time. I just wanted to ask the question of everybody here,
Yes.
a little bit talking about this fantastic project that you're doing, but also speaking to what Bob's just asked us as well. Possibly one of the key parts of our role as the National Research Committee is understanding what you guys want to see what you want to participate in, what you're willing to fund. And I mean, are you interested if we receive a form, you know, an application from one of the branches to do something like this, for us to share with you what they're requesting, and would you be willing to, at some point, share some of your funds to help out? So yeah, that's right. You know, so I'll use one project as an illustration of that, and that's the honeyberry. So we did ask branches whether they wanted to participate financially in the honeyberry project, and we had a couple of donations from the branches where they actually put money into the national research coffers, and that helped us fund some propagation and you know, some potting on and just small things. So it wasn't just volunteer work, it was actual hard cash, and you know, that's really helpful. So I mean, would you be interested in receiving emails from us on that?
Absolutely. Talk to us. Communication, discussion.
Yep.
That's what we should all be about. We should encourage the regions. The strength of this organisation is all its regions. If you're sitting around thinking these things, talk to us.
Well, the thoughts only just occurred to me.
Great.
So
We'd love to
I wanted to ask.
We'd love to hear.
We're just going to move on now. Caleb's got something he wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Because we've got about 5-10 minutes.
There's no one here from Central Otago, is there?
Oh, no.
Sweet. I just wanted to clarify for everyone that there is funding available for research, obviously, and just to go over the pathways for that. The main one that is super accessible and is for encouraging small trials of getting people together, like our avocado trial in Canterbury, was sort of had a bit of a ripple effect in our community in Canterbury, because everyone was so interested in it, and it not only is assessing the avocados, but it's bringing people together, it's creating excitement, like Don's doing, and so the Branch Innovation Fund is probably the first port of call for smaller trials. If one of your branch members has an idea, jump on it, move really quickly, get it rolling. It's very accessible. It doesn't have to be a top university level research sort of undertaking. Just get people involved. That's sort of the target. That I think we fund even up to 2/3 of the up to $1,000 for the trial. So that's that. And if you have bigger projects in mind, there is other funding available too. If it's a bigger project or if it's ongoing, multiple years, national projects like what Robyn's doing. So really important. I just wanted to clarify that for everyone, because it is accessible. We'd love to see more applications. If you have ideas but aren't sure how to go about it, come and talk to us, all that sort of thing. And also, the Canterbury branch has its own trust, which was set up many years ago, which has money in it as well for national research, which is, it was set up by the founders of the tree crops, which was sort of more focused at the scientific level stuff. And in the trust deed, it's quite funny that they're extremely passionate about chestnuts, walnuts, and hazelnuts. So if any of you want to study those,
tree crops, really, wasn't it?
exactly. If any of you wanted to study those, that is a particular interest to this trust. But it's all sorts. I think it's strictly temperate crops was what it's limited to. But if you have ideas about that, the application pathway for that is to the Canterbury branch for discussion, and then it gets discussed by the trust. But don't want to overcomplicate it. But basically, there's money around, so jump on it.
I mean, the problem is this sort of, there's research on an individual small basis, maybe what you're doing. The problem in the Bay of Plenty is people are often into commercial. Yes. So we've got a chap next down the Eastern Bay who has this huge walnut forest, and we've been down to several field days, and he's got a million varieties. So, I mean, I'm thinking about the avocado tree and Bob talking about espalieing. I mean, it's almost gone too far. This chap has started growing the trees and started espalieing, and it's on a part of a commercial orchard. And so, in a sense, you would almost think, well, maybe we could provide some support for something like this too. So that's the link, I think, between purely domestic, as we talked about in Auckland, and your sort of thing. And then for us, which is people are doing this stuff on a big scale around the place.
You talk about the Australian, I think the fact on that is they cost so much that we're very, very frightened of cutting too much off. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a trial to espalier avocados would be good because we wouldn't have that fear of killing our own tree very quickly.
Exactly.
Anyway, I'm going
exactly.
to wrap it up now because you've got a delegates meeting in short time and there's people here going to have a break.
Bob, can I just say that
I just one more. I just think this is the first time we've sat up here as a four, and I think you can appreciate why I cherry picked these three people. I mean, I'm not a plantsman, I'm does all that. I just organise things, but I'm just so thankful to the three people who came onto the research committee and the knowledge they have, and the knowledge I don't have. It makes up for.
Round of applause.
I just want those research stories in the tree cropper to inspire other branches, so don't hide your light under a bushel, please.
Before you go, I'm going to have seeds.
Sorry,
on my,
you're the editor.
I
Nice.
have seeds on my Hovenia Japanese raisin tree, which I hope to collect in the next few months. And I hope to get seeds my lucuma. The rats seem to get the fruit, unfortunately, but I've got. So if people want to just trial, grow the trees, do they go in your area? It's not the best lucuma variety. I will try cutting some of my Japanese raisin because I think it tastes quite good
So
later
when
on. So
does-
if you get hold of me and I can send you seed.
When does your Japanese raisin, like
It's-
mine's been in probably 7 years, I've yet to,
Have a look. It should be starting to, petioles things should be starting to swell now.
yeah. I
Just wait
wondered-
another year and
Yeah,
another
yeah.
year.
And then I'll be
and
gone.
another
And then I'll be
year,
gone.
and
But
another
they
year.
can
I know
contact
we're
me.